Howdy, 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 and a happy new year. Welcome to another year of the Dirt Info podcast. I'm Josh. This over here is my good friend Carter, and down below is Julian. Gentlemen, it's 2025, but we've not met since a couple weeks ago. So, uh, what did you all get for Christmas? That's the thing I'm most interested in. Did you guys get any dirt racing or racing related things for Christmas? Carter, did you get anything?
Yeah, I got a few. Hold on here. Got me a calendar,
Wow.
real nice calendar,
Look at
so
the
I can write write
coordination.
write my schedule on it with my. Hopefully you can see it with my lovely camera
Right on.
quality. I
Oh
got a
yeah,
sh
just hold her still for a minute for us and we can see it.
I can take pictures and add them on too. Got a Garrett Williams shirt, Williamson.
Nice.
So you have a
Digging
highlight
it.
under a Word of Outlaws shirt.
What?
Yeah. He's
So
representing both sides, Julian.
Uh, I'm representing people that I like their raps pretty much.
Right
Did you
on.
see that? Oh, there we go. Brandon
Yeah,
Shepherd too. There we go.
right on. And that's
No,
baby blue, yeah?
yep.
Not a color I picture you in often.
I've changed it up the past year. I got a
Mhm.
sand colored shirt on. Was new to me this past year. So
he's gonna
usually
have
it's
red and everything coming up next.
I've got a couple
Ooh.
red shirts, but they're mainly black and gray. So
I actually got a
Yeah.
red shirt for Christmas, but it wasn't racing. It was Iron Maiden shirt. I didn't get anything
Oh.
dirt racing related for Christmas, but if you saw in my social media, I did get a new podcast mic that I haven't set up yet. So we'll actually start looking like a real podcast this year. So looking forward to that. I was just didn't have any time to set it up with
it'll
all
be set
Christmas
up
activities.
for we set up for 2026.
You got a whole year.
As long as we get set up.
Take your time, Julian. No.
What did you get, John?
Um, I got I did get one dirt racing related gift. I got the Dirty Dozen calendar, JC Norgard with soda drivers. So that's pretty neat. Olgal picked that up for me. Um, otherwise, I actually the Monster Jam tickets that I blew the load on early last time. Um, we got those. Those are pit passes too. And then I don't know. I think my favorite gift that I got though, this is just lame, but it's my favorite by far. I got a wood splitter. So to go with my smoker that I got for my 40th birthday, I got a wood splitter so I can have evenly and uniformly sized hunks of wood to smoke meats with. So I'm super pumped about that. That's going to
That
take
is the
the
most 40-year-old excitement about a gift I've ever heard, Josh.
oh, bro, it makes all the difference though. I've been smoking for 12-ish years
Should
and
probably
I feel
quit.
like no, I'm not worried about it. It is clearly not good for my health. Like admittedly. But I don't plan to quit anytime soon. Um, but I'm now
You
at the
probably
part where I'm like, I have to have perfectly and evenly sized wood so I have no temperature variation. I can get this thing down to just run like clockwork. So um yeah, I'm pumped. Anyway, enough about that.
I don't know anything about smoking meat, so but
No, given that we were at 3 total fried eggs last time we talked, we'll give it some time till we're at smoking meat stage. But I know you can do it. Everyone can do it. It's just hard work and gumption.
and I have no desire, but as long as you do and you're having fun, Josh.
That sounds terrible, Julian says. Hard work and gumption out. Anyway, I digress. So dirt racing related items. So really we've got we didn't have anything of note, I guess, for us the last 2 weeks really going down. But looking ahead, we do have the Wild West Shootout coming up. Sort of a split week situation, if I recall. This coming Saturday, Sunday, we're racing, uh, taking a Monday off, then we race a Wednesday. Um, kind of reminds me of like a 50-50 custody schedule or something. You get to see them on Wednesday only. Anyway, I'm being ridiculous, but and then we're racing Friday, Saturday, Sunday to finish out the second week of racing. Anyway, so we've got of note to us, we've got modifieds, we've got X mods, and then we've got super late models, of course. That's probably top billing for most everyone, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't also intrigued. But modifieds are kind of what we talk about and what we're interested in. So, Julian, I know we were talking before. It doesn't look like they've given us nearly as many names for an entry list for modifieds as they have. Shit, I think they gave us the entirety of the entry list for super late models. But we've had to cobble together a list from Facebook. But anyway, names like Chris Hennigan, Tyler Davis, Joe Duvall, Tanner Mullins. Who interests you? Anyone I named, anyone I didn't name? Just anything on your kind of your radar as we head into the Wild West Shootout.
Well, a couple guys you didn't mention, Cade Dillard, obviously. He's kind of, I mean, almost dominated the USRA mod scene in the past year or so. I mean, I think he won the majority of the races last year at Vado. He won the fall shootout or fall championship, whatever it was called. I think back in October, November. And then another guy that I was kind of talking to you about, Gary Christian. He's also runs well at Vado. He won. He actually won the night, I believe, with the biggest entries, with 57 entries last year, over Terry Phillips and Tyler Wolf, who also should be there. And you know, he won one of the prelim features at the Fall Nationals, I believe it's actually called. And
Yeah, that sounds
yeah,
right.
he split it with Dillard. So that's another guy I'm really interested to see what Gary Christian does. He kind of came on late last year, I would say, if I'm remembering correctly. He kind of had a so-so season and then kind of turned it on late. So that's somebody that's going to be really interesting to watch.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's in a CDR race car as well, right? So he's in one of Kate's cars. So
Yeah, yeah.
um yeah, I
So
mean I think those seem to hook up real well there.
also might have a few losses for the modified field too, though. Guys, I believe Jake Tim ran a modified there last year. I could be wrong.
I
But I mean,
feel like he did.
it's a big exclusion not having Jake Tim because it appears that he's just running a late model. And then no Dan Ebert because Dan Ebert's going to run Lucas and late models too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Carter informed me that the first day of Lucas practice is only a couple days after the end of Vado, so he's not
It's
going to be towing back and forth.
I think it's two
But
days after. I think it ends on Sunday, like next 2 Sundays from now, and then
Hmm.
they have practice at Golden Isles on Tuesday, I think, or Wednesday, one of the two. So
Okay.
Lucas
So
guys aren't going to be making the trip from Vado to Georgia unless you got like a Brandon Shepherd situation where the house car is sitting in Georgia while he will be.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think
Conceivably could just get on a plane, right? And I think
exactly.
one goes north and he just meets the other one. So yeah.
I was scouring the entry list for that, and honestly, just kind of dip it into late models for a second. But I think Garrett Alberson and maybe one other Lucas regular, the only really Lucas guys that are running Vado. And Alberson obviously has ties to New Mexico since that's
Yeah.
his home state.
Yeah.
But so that makes sense. But yeah, I
Did
mean,
we
I still
get
think it's kind of we don't really know what's going to happen with the mod field since there's no real formal entry list. Maybe probably Jake O'Neill will probably be there as well. I would say.
We forgot a big
I
one
would think
too.
so.
Kyle Strickler's going to be there.
How did we forget?
I think we've talked about it before,
Uh,
but just to remind everyone.
I appreciate your diligence, Carter.
And
Yeah,
you know,
Strickler is going to be there.
we laugh, but I mean, Strickler could honestly be a contender to win. Uh, I mean, multiple races, not even just one or two. I mean, he runs
I,
well in any kind of modified. He ran well with USMTS earlier this year, so I mean, Strickler could easily win. Obviously, your favorite's probably gonna be Dillard, but
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Strickler running up there with Dillard. It could be interesting to see two guys. I think, well, at least one we associate a little bit with late models, and I think everyone associates Strickler a little bit with a late model too. But two guys who made it coming up in modifieds. They could be really battling up front. Um, looking at the list, Tanner Mullins. I feel like he had a bit of a down year last year. I'd be interested to see um, if he can kind of start the year big here. I think he was at the Dome too. Um, so that's a lot of turnaround to go from the Dome and to be at Vado. There may be a couple of other guys doing it, but
Carlos
he's
Amata,
one.
I believe,
Amata, Tyler Davis, actually.
wasn't he the runner up? I believe
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah. I mean, linking
I
the
believe
two.
or no, he
Go ahead.
wasn't the runner up. I'm sorry. But yeah, Carlos Amata. You have your track champion Jake Gallardo. There should be
Yeah,
probably like how many, like 6, 7, 8,
Amata
9
was.
Gallardos there.
Yeah. Anyway, Amata, if he wasn't on the podium, which I could have swore he was, ran well at the Dome nonetheless, and so he could be coming in, riding the momentum. It could be interesting to see what he can build off there. Um, I I would think if he starts hot at Vado, maybe we see him maybe give another full run at the USMTS. So, he could stack some good news on top of good news on top of good news.
And
That'd
you
be
know what
kind
he
of neat to
looks like
see.
now, Josh. So you can go talk to him at the track.
Yeah, I mean, if he runs USMTS, I'm gonna see him a fair bit. I'd venture a guess, so I'll be sure to
Well,
catch up with him.
here's another guy from the area that's going to be running some USMTS stuff next year is Josh Kane, the two-time and defending USRA national stock car champion. And
Mm-hmm.
he said he's making the switch to mostly modifieds and occasionally late model. But he wants to run some bigger events like USMTS, bigger paying shows. I believe he said he doesn't want to race for $300 anymore. Kind of a that was a quote from the article in it, or kind of there. So that's going to be interesting to see what he can do. He ran his B mod, and I think his B mod that he was running was down on power. He said, but he still managed a couple podiums. I believe it's second place on the last night. First
This
night
is
he was
last year
third.
you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
that'd be. I don't know if he's gonna light the world on fire first time in a big mod, but still interesting to watch that nonetheless.
Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of stock car modified crossover, especially in the IMCA world. So, uh, I don't think it would be too far a stretch to think he might find some success. Maybe not right away, but worth watching. That guy's won a lot of USRA races, I'll say that. So, um, put him behind of a wheel of a modified and let's see what he's got. It'll be fun to see. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a little tough talking about it just because the what we've got entry list wise and is sparse and so trying to think of other storylines here. I think the Smiths are from the area. They'll probably be there. Mark and Nathan Smith. I think Mark Smith had a pretty solid run at the big deal. I don't remember if he ended up putting it in the show, but maybe he advanced a couple B main or a
We had
couple lower mains.
he had a crazy run at a USMTS race. I believe it was like Route 66 towards the end of the year. I believe he was flying, and I think he
Was
finished.
that the one where the motor gave out?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a multi-day show, and I think he blew
yeah,
up one of the nights. But the other night, I
yeah,
think he finished like second or something. It was
yeah.
crazy. But I mean, here I'll just pose a question for both of you. I mean, how many does Cade Dillard win? I mean, last year he won.
Four.
One,
Did he win four last
two.
year?
Yeah, yeah. It looks like he won. Yeah, four. I mean, how many does he win?
Hmm.
I guess it depends
Hmm.
who else is gonna be there. But
Yeah,
I'd say at least three, probably. I'd give him three.
yeah, yeah. Three sounds. I'd say two. I'll just to be a little bit of a contrarian. I'll go lower. I'll say less than half, and he'll win two.
And I remember correctly, he damaged his race car midway through the Vado event last year. And so I
Hmm.
remember the last couple races. I don't think I mean, he even won the last night, but I don't think his car was 100% because he did
Yeah,
get.
I think he had a broke shock when he won the big deal too. Broke left shock. So I don't know that that really maybe makes him faster. It's like a superpower. I don't know. I just think looking at the guys that are there and who's been running semi good lately, um, I just think the field's fairly deep of at least what we know. Terry Phillips, we haven't mentioned. Rodney Sanders, Christian, you thought might be one to watch. Um, you know, Tyler Davis is mentioned before. I don't know. I'm just reading names off a list, but all of those guys are pretty solid, have been here and have had some level of success. I'm sure there's some names on this list that we haven't just found that'll probably show up at least one or both of the weeks. It's possible the
Maybe
second could have
one Johnny Scott.
maybe one Johnny Scott. Yeah, I think Stormy's there in a late model. So and
Johnny
Johnny's doing it.
finished. He finished second on the opening night last year with 60 modified. So, and obviously
Okay.
he's from there building race cars.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know. We haven't heard a lot from him, but he shows up every now and then. It's his home track, so I don't know. Be interesting to see
Yeah,
Johnny Scott.
Was
And
60 the
then
high for car count last year? Or do you
let me
know?
see here. Yeah, I actually have it all written down here. So 60 was the highest car count for modifieds last year. And then they also got 59 one day as well. So the modified stayed pretty high.
So there'll
Then
probably be at least like 50. I mean, we found probably what, like 20 guys we've seen just around there that we've seen. So there'll probably be
and a
like,
bunch of guys that maybe don't have social media presence.
yeah, so there'll probably be like
yeah,
at least like 25 more that show up, I'd say. So I
Yeah,
don't,
yeah.
even
yeah,
though we can't
yeah.
find
It's
them,
gonna
I
be.
don't think the entry list will be like low. I don't think it's going to be like 25 cars. I'm sure it'll be 45, 50.
Yeah.
If only they posted it.
If only gave them a little more love. We got a full entry list for
They'll
for the
post
late
it.
models,
They'll
but
post it
You
two
know,
minutes after recording.
we have a couple
that'll
days
be our
to
luck.
go, so maybe we'll get a modified list. I was even scouring my race pass because sometimes they post entries on there before the event,
Hmm.
but there's nothing on there. So we're
No.
just kind of spitballing it. There's another one I see on here too is Lucas Schott finished second in one of the races last year. Don't know what he's doing really.
No. And he usually just shows up kind of randomly when he's intending to race a lot more in a year. He'll show up kind of randomly down there. I mean, it's worth noting that there is, you know, Trenton's down there and he promotes a bunch of different series now too. So, I mean, I see some Kansas presence from sort of where his base of operations are, but maybe he's able to attract a few guys more down there. I think Don Shaw promotes a Wasota-ish show the week after this ends, so I know that some guys support both of those
I think
shows, so
it's
maybe
way
he
after
can
this
grab it.
ends, isn't it? Or no, when
Is
is
it
this? It's like the 20
is it
something. I
two
mean,
weeks
it's like
after? I
10
don't know.
days after. Do they have Wasota
Okay,
mods though at that Wasota thing?
that I don't know. That I
I
don't know.
I know
don't
they
But
know.
have
I know
maybe
they
just maybe he
game,
can get a
but
few
maybe they
guys
run.
down there.
I don't
might
know
get
the full.
some X mods. That it might
Yeah,
help the X
it,
mods because they can stay there pretty
yeah,
much all month.
yeah. That's for sure. They definitely can run that Earl Mincy deal. I don't know. Just and I think isn't Chris Steppen the announcer for, or do I have that wrong? I maybe
At
I'm
what?
at the Wild West Shootout. Doesn't he announce
No,
the mods?
that's
No,
no, I don't remember who
no.
did the
Did
mods.
GJ and the whole crew do the? I don't
It
remember.
might just be the
Anyway,
local guy that does the mods, I think. I know
it
Ben
could
and
be.
DJ do the late models, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, all the same, just trying to think of connections and reasons like where we might expect to see some of these guys we're not seeing might come from. But honestly, probably a lot of I think Vado probably pulls pretty well as a weekly show. So if all of those guys show up, I mean you're talking pretty deep in competitive fields. Uh I think Julian mentioned Jake Gallardo before, but there's a couple other Gallardos that run really well too. So um
Yeah, I
eh,
just pulling up my race pass for the points for Vado last year. I mean, you have a lot of guys down there. I mean, that are pretty decent. I mean, Carlos Amado ran some local shows down there. You have
mhm.
Peyton Gallardo, Nick Rivera, who is an ace down there in the X mods, finished eighth in A mod points. So there's another guy that probably run Jimmy Ray. Somehow always has like at least one or two crazy runs down there,
That he
and
does.
his car like burst into pieces or something. But it's like he was always on like some crazy drive from like
Uh,
20th in the B main, transfers, drive
wow.
midfield, and
So
car.
here's one thing I have noticed. especially playing dirt. It's sort of a dirt draft thing that I've noticed. But there are a few locals who will like late register intentionally. I'm convinced it's intentionally, just to start at the back end of a heat race and basically have the opportunity to go 10-1 and start on the pole because it's all passing points. So they'll just draw late. So if you see some of those guys starting towards the front and running well, um, and you notice they started at the ass end of a heat race, it might have been why. So I just that has interested me the last 2 years that I've noticed that it happens and that it's a legitimate tactic for passing points. So it gives me the giggles.
And I could be mistaken, but I think USMTS is going to Vado um, next this year.
I
I thought I,
Potentially, I mean, I've
I
been so
thought I
checked
saw
out.
that. That might be. I mean, you might get a few extra cars there for that. I don't think Alex Williamson is going down to run Vado.
I doubt it.
But you could see some more those Northern USMTS guys come down to run, maybe get some track time at Vado. I think Vado. I mean, interesting thing about Vado too is they really like to throw everybody for a loop at the track prep all the time. I think they try to change it up, which makes for some great racing. So maybe some guys want to get a hold of that.
I
Trying
do
to
not see Vado on the schedule, just to be clear. Hate to hate to be
I
the
could have
bearer of
been
bad
wrong.
news.
Then I thought I
They
saw
got
that.
Heart of Texas twice though. And I don't know, I guess there's always a chance they could end up. I don't know.
I'm
I
looking
thought
I
at
there
have
was
no
something down there.
Vado's schedule right now. I also don't see it. So we're spreading
uh,
misinformation.
yeah.
I didn't
No,
say it was fact, but I said I thought.
I was gonna say all the same, they have enough big money shows, especially, here to start and definitely in the fall, at least the one big money show that it makes sense to try to get to track time either way. So um but yeah, I don't know. X mods. I think Julian, you were all hyped to see JC Morton in the Bloodline house car B mod, and turns out he's not even going.
Yeah, Carter broke my heart, my hopes and dreams with that one. JC Morton was like somebody I'm like, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be really good there. And then it turns out he's not going, and he's as of a couple months ago, he's selling the 2023 Bloodline house car. So I don't know what's going on, but but I mean, there's a bunch of other guys there too. Like I mentioned, Nick Rivera, absolute ace in the X mods, and he
Yeah.
won. He was on the podium. I either won or on the podium for most of the races last year. Jesse Haney finally picked up a couple wins after getting Chris Jackson not like wrecked, just like beat by Chris Jackson the previous season.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dick Rivera, Josh Kane won't be back in the X mod as far as I know. But those are just some guys to watch. And Jake
Yeah.
Hatch out of Louisiana runs out well, I think, in the USRA like limited mods. So I think he had a podium last year too. So I think there's two Haddix brothers as far as I know, and they're usually pretty stout in that kind of like Arklatex region.
Yeah. I think Blake Adams is going down too. So um Buzzy Adams is sounding pretty solid up and coming Midwest mod driver up in my area. So I think he's from Wisconsin, but he races around me quite a bit. So
Carter
seen him
doesn't
quite
blame
a bit. All
What?
right, well, he doesn't race IMCA, can't claim him.
I'm pretty.
exactly.
I'm almost positive I saw his first Midwest mod win actually at Rice Lake. So I've been there. I've been there since day one, buddy.
He's like, now I claim him.
Yeah, now I
Because
claim him.
because
Now he's on the big stage.
Carter is with Soda now.
I had a stream Rice Lake one day, and I'm almost positive that was his first Midwest mod win. So
Oh, that's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, I mean, he'll be down there. I'm obviously going to say he's a threat to win all six. Um, but I believe he was a Wasota 100 winner this past year. So he can win races against deep fields. So someone at least to watch a little bit with a hometown flavor. Other than that, I don't. There's some other Wissota guys. Lucas Rodin, I feel like, has been down there a couple years in a row. Jake Smith as well. I don't see. We didn't see any mention that they will be there, but I think Scott Vince will be. So maybe they're all from the Dakotas. So maybe they
Yeah,
ride shared their way down.
yeah, and
But
something to note, I was looking at this too, actually. Blake Adams actually started off the year at Central Arizona last year.
okay.
So he ran, I think that's the early thaw,
Yep.
the
Hmm.
Don Shaw event, and he actually won the second to last night there in a limited mod. I'm not really sure what the rules were for that.
I
Um,
think it was a
just
mix
like an
of
X mod.
I think it was a mix of mods or B mods.
Yeah, and he had 19 wins overall last year, 71 top tens. He did run some like go kart kind of things, so it kind of skews the stats a little bit. But they're driving in circles all the same, so
Yeah. Yeah.
no difference.
Um, just an interesting thought with Blake Adams being down there. I don't see any mention of. I mean, I assume Buzzy's going, but maybe he's in a car too. Buzzy Adams. I think he usually. Uh, I think last year and the year before, at least, I recall seeing him on over at Volusia for the Dirt Car Nationals to start the year. So maybe he just instead of a UMP car, he takes his Wasota or car and comes on down. I don't know. I'm speculating completely now, but that'd be kind of neat. That'd be a good addition to the field, in
Yeah,
my
it's
opinion.
really, I mean, overall, it's really, you mentioned that, Volusia, and then we have the early thaw in Central Arizona. And it's amazing how much winter racing is available now. I mean, even if you're from the north, you could run basically all year. I mean, you can go
Hmm.
down to Vado, you can go out to Arizona. We have the IMCA Clash on the coast coming down to Alabama in the Florida Panhandle. So, I mean, you can run down there. You could run Ocala,
Yeah.
Volusia.
There's
I'm sure
also
there's some
we
Carolinas probably.
completely forgot about this. That 10,000 to win mod race that was supposed to be during the dome. That's at the end of January. So
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
there's that too. That's IMCA, right?
I
Yeah.
believe it
Yeah.
was. Yeah. And then we didn't even. I don't know that we've said the name outright yet, but IMCA Winter Nationals is 2 weeks here, right? I think towards
Yeah.
the end or at the end of Vado as well. So, and then there's the early thaw. And then, yeah, I mean, it's going to be going for a while here once we get started this week. So,
That's what's
um,
difficult. And I mentioned Adams, he didn't go to Vado last year and he just went to Arizona. So some of the guys that haven't really said where they're going, it's kind of hard to speculate because it's not like, well, this is the only show in town.
hmm.
That's not the only show in town anymore. I mean, even if they want to save their stuff a little bit to go run in Florida, which we've seen some of the northern guys do, go down and run a UMP car instead. Tim
Hmm.
Ward and some of those other guys have gone down there and done that. So it's even just speculating on an entry list is really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not outlandish to think a driver could, especially in this day and age, could show up and drive, someone else's car, like, not saying it never happened. I'm not trying to pretend like this is all new, but it just seems like we're getting more and more of that, I feel like, as the years progress. So, um, yeah, I'm definitely interested to see who all ends up at the Wild West Shootout. I think it'll be a pretty solid field, and um, Cade Dillard will win two. That's my guess. Julian, you never did tell us how many you thought he'd win.
Uh, See, I asked you, so I didn't have to commit to anything. I'm gonna say I'm kind of with you. I'm like at least two. I'm kind of leaning three, honestly. I don't know if he's gonna win as much as he did last year, but I mean, when he's on his game, he's the best open modified driver out there, in my opinion. But we saw some guys that have some down years last year. Excuse me, that might be back. Kind of like a Rodney Sanders, Tanner Mullins. I mean, both were
Yeah,
kind of last year, so
yeah.
we'll see what happens. Obviously, I don't think Jim Chisholm's going down.
I
Um,
was just gonna say I didn't look, so I'm actually a little disappointed in myself that I didn't bother to check. But
I would
I
assume
don't.
he wouldn't be, just based on absolutely nothing. Just popped in
Just
my
gut
head.
feeling, just gut feeling. I don't feel like he's gonna
I
be
just,
there.
I was like, I don't know. Has he gone down before? I don't believe so.
I don't think
I
so.
can't recall, but why not start
And he's
now?
still counting
Um,
his dollar bills from his USCMTS national championship and his 50 grand win down in
I
Texas.
mean, he could either be licking his wounds from the dome, or he could be itching to go kick some butt again. So I don't know. I think if he shows up, it changes the math a lot, right?
Does Chase
Because
Harmon still have his USMTS car? He's going
no,
back
no,
full time
no,
in modifieds.
they are full-time UMP. It sounds like, so. It looks like they're selling out of the crate late model, and they're focusing on UMP modifieds. I think they're starting the season in Volusia or out in Florida somewhere soon. So, um, yeah, so
Jim
that's kind of
Ch-
cool.
Jim Chisholm has no posts about going to Vado, by the way. His only most recent post was saying Merry Christmas. So
Merry
Yeah, so
Christmas,
he's
Jim.
just sitting there going,
Uh, so I don't know. I suppose that probably wraps up our conversation about the Wild West Shootout, and we've already kind of done ourselves a service as well, and pointed out what we'll be talking about next year or next week, and the weeks to come. So I don't know. With that, I think it's time for
one for the road.
yeah.
You
pointing
always
the
point
wrong
the wrong
direction
way.
again.
Yeah, you always point the wrong way.
On my screen, I'm pointing the right direction. All right, should we try again? And now it's time for
One for the road. I'll start. I came up with this about 20 minutes ago, but we talked a little bit about this race last time. Something funny down there, Julian?
Yeah, Bucky came up with it 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wasn't really paying
Man,
attention to racing.
filming.
But the race we talked about last time, like rain out stuff, and there was that one me and Ryan went to Vinton, or no, yeah, that we were gonna go to that got rained out, and then we went to Ogilvy instead. Well, they're having that race again. It's like an annual thing, and it's their anniversary race for the mods because that's like where mods started, IMCA mods. And it's 4,600 to win and 2,000 for the sport mods. And I already got that added to the 2025 schedule. So just figured I'd point out that they're having it back. It's the 46th anniversary, by the way. So that's why it's
And
4,600 to
this is
win.
Vinton, Iowa, you said?
Yeah, Benton County Speedway is the track
Well,
name.
at least the farmers are going to get some rain for their crops that day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you at Ogilvy that weekend. Bump.
Last year, even Wisconsin got rained out, so Wisconsin is probably going to be getting rained out that day too.
Or
Yeah,
Benton.
not Ogilvy. And the invitation's always open.
I don't
Um,
know. That Ogilvy, I think that's the weekend they have the 10,000 to win Midwest mod race, I'm pretty sure. So
you
I don't
know
know.
you want to be
I
there.
don't know if I'll
You
be
know
going to
you want to
that.
be there. Uh, all right. Uh, I'll throw out a little speculation or a hypothesis or whatever, if you will, for my one for the road. But I saw that Dylan McCown picked up a Infinity by Wells chassis, and so it intrigues me a little bit. I think he's 2021, 2022 USRA modified track champ at Lucas Oil Speedway. So that's our tie back to modifieds. 2023 Rookie of the Year for Julian. Do you have any guess what series he was Rookie of the Year for in 2023?
Rest in peace, MLRA.
Correct. Yep, and I think he finished third in points that year behind the Fighting Simpsons. And then this past year he finished fourth in total points behind the Fighting Simpsons and Tony Jackson Jr. Anyway, that's a whole bunch of nonsense just to say those Infinity by Wells seem to fit a modified driver really well. I noticed that Gustin ran in his, I think, a little bit better than Overton did. Maybe not everyone agrees with that, but I think once Gustin got it figured out, he's fast as heck. So anyway, I would be interested to see where McCowan starts his year in that Infinity by Wells. And I'll be interested to see if he follows the series in either direction. And I think he's going to be really freaking fast in that thing. Another minor point is I think the former crew chief for Gustin last year actually went and worked with or is working for Infinity now as well too. So I don't know. My little hunch says maybe those Infinity cars like to be driven by modified drivers. So keep an eye on McCowan. That's my racing adjacent for this week. Julian, I know
Yeah.
I can always point to your direction correctly. I never screw that up.
Yeah. So, mine is an interesting one actually for this week. Is Anthony Perego, Super Dirt Car Series big block driver, is going to be running the Tulsa Shootout for the first time in stock non-wing and outlaw non-wing. So that popped up on my Facebook this morning, and I was like, "What?" And Master Gassers actually told me that he does run some indoor stuff up in the Northeast, but he's never run the Tulsa Shootout, so it's kind of interesting. And there's also we have two more SDS drivers, Alex Jankowski and Matt Williamson, running the Chili Bowl. So kind of the big block boys are kind of going down there to Tulsa. It's interesting to see how they'll do, and I'm really interested to see how Prego does. I believe I'm trying to remember if there was another big block driver going down. Maybe Billy Van Inwigen runs the Tulsa Shootout or the Chili Bowl, one of the two. So
Could be.
that's my one for the road / racing.
Yeah. Well, a big block driver has won that race before. Speaking of the Chili Bowl, a big block racer has won that race before. So I mean, worth keeping an eye on those two guys.
Former NASCAR Busch Series driver too, Tim McCready.
Yeah.
I just found that out recently.
Yeah. So anyway, with that, I think we will bid you adieu. Again, thanks for watching this far. If y'all have, I forgot to say at the beginning, so I'll say now, please like, share, subscribe, tell your grandma, whatever, pass it along, something. If you like what you're seeing, tell someone. It definitely helps us grow and keep what we're doing. We're also available on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube. And with that, Happy New Year, and we'll see you all again next week. Thank you much.